Hello and welcome to Smaulgld's Russian gold reserves update for the month of February 2018. Russia adds another huge pile of gold to its growing stack in February. Russian central bank gold reserves rise to 1,882 tons in February. Russian gold reserves are now the fifth largest in the world. Russia added 800,000 ounces of gold, or approximately 24.88 tons of gold, to reserves in February. Russia, as you remember, added a record 224 tons of gold to reserves in 2017, and since June 2015, the Russian central bank has added over 600 tons of gold to reserves. Overall, Russian reserves have risen from 447 billion in December to 453 billion in February. Russian holdings of U.S. Treasuries fell below 100 billion to 96.9 billion, while their gold reserves rose to 80.6 billion, which now constitutes about 18% of overall gold reserves. Let's take a look at these silver bullion cryptocurrency rounds. They are 9995 silver, and they have your favorite cryptocurrency embossed on the front. If you purchase them, Smaulgld gets a small commission. Take a look now at these charts. You can see them better on the Smaulgld site, but let's see what Russia's been up to with their gold purchasing. From June 2015 to February 2018, we can see the inexorable climb of Russian gold reserves, up over 600 tons during that time period. Here is a longer-term chart that shows Russian gold reserves additions and subtractions since 1997, and you can see there was a period in the late 90s, early 2000s where Russia was actually a net seller of gold. The last 3 or 4 years, Russia has averaged adding over 200 tons of gold to reserves. By the way, if you're interested in adding gold to your reserves, you can do so through the links on the Smaulgld site on below this BitChute and YouTube at BGSC, Golden Eagle Coins, SD Bullion, Money Metals Exchange. It's not an investment advice to buy gold, but if you are going to buy gold and you visit those sites through the Smaulgld channel, you will pay no more, no less than if you visited those sites directly, and Smaulgld gets a small commission. So please, if you're interested in buying gold or silver, visit those links. Now, let's take a look at Russian monthly gold purchases. There are a couple of months where they did not buy any gold. However, for the most part, they have been consistent purchasers of gold during the last few years, and you can see some months actually adding over 1 million ounces of gold. And during the time period shown on the chart from June 2014 to February 2018, they added 25.8 million ounces, which is approximately 803 tons. Now, there was a period of time where the Central Bank of China, or the People's Bank of China, was adding significant amounts of gold, and this chart indicates the competition between the two central banks. And when this chart was first prepared in November 2015, the People's Bank of China was the fifth largest gold holding nation, and Russia was in sixth place. Since then, their positions have reversed, and Russia has now leapfrogged past China in terms of gold holdings. The People's Bank of China has not reported adding any gold since October 2016, which coincidentally was the month in which the Chinese were admitted, or the Chinese yuan was admitted to the special drawing rights of the IMF. That's not to say that China itself, the country of China and the government of China, doesn't have more gold than Russia. It's just that the People's Bank of China now has less gold, or reports less gold, than the Central Bank of Russia. Now, where does Russia get all that gold? Well, Russia's getting that gold from its second or third largest mining production in the world. This chart shows here in the blue the annual amounts of gold that the Russians have produced, and the red line shows how much of that gold they add to reserves. You can see in the last couple of years an increasing amount, or increasing percentage and amount, of the mining production has been added to reserves, with the remainder in the last few years going to China. There are agreements between China and Russia for Russia to sell some gold to China after they top up their own central bank, and also there are arrangements between China and Russia where China is investing in Russia to help develop their gold mining business there. But as we mentioned, now Russia is ahead of China, or the Central Bank of Russia is ahead of the People's Bank of China, and now in fifth place, probably a couple of years away from catching France and Italy, if they indeed continue to add over 200 tons of gold a year, as they've been doing consistently for the last 3 or 4 years. Russia's adding gold to her reserves as part of overall reserve strengthening. And you can see since January 2016 through February of 2018 that their overall reserves have increased about 80 some odd billion dollars. And that's about a 22% increase in overall reserves. And we mentioned their gold reserves are now about $80 billion and the U.S. Treasuries $96 billion. Now, Russian holdings of U.S. Treasuries have basically been flat during that time period since January 2016 and January 2018. However, they have swung wildly. You have a low here of about 74 billion in October of 2016 and a high of 108 billion in May 2017. But January 2016 and January 2018 are smack right on the button at $96.9 billion. Well, that about does it. Thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed these reports, please consider donate to Smaulgld via PayPal, via Bitcoin, via Litecoin at the links below of this BitChute and this YouTube, or on the Smaulgld site, or consider becoming a Smaulgld patron and donating a small amount each month. Thank you very much for listening.